This is Chet Holmgren, and I'm down to dunk.
This is AJ Mitchell, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Alex Crusoe, and I'm down to dunk.
It's like baby bottle pop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is Adam Flagler, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, it's Isaiah Hartenstein, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Cason Wallace, and I'm down to dunk.
I can't spell Lucas. Hey, how do you spell Lucas? How do you spell Lucas?
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Nikola Topic, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Dylan Jones, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Isaiah Joe, and I'm down to dunk.
And there's probably like 50 to 75 Beanie Babies.
Give me like your top 3 Pokemon.
Brother, I can't even name.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
Sometimes the way his brain works is it leaves a lot to be desired.
This is Kenrich Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
Charmander. Charmander. Or you're more of a Charmeleon guy.
Charmeleon.
This is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
Schlecht. You know what it
Schlecht?
means? Yeah.
That means like bad.
It means bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me.
Well, it was a good interview, so it wasn't bad.
J-Dub, year 3, and I'm down to dunk for the 3rd time. Thank you.
Ooh, welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Wednesdays is my good friend, Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew? We're going to Vegas.
Going to Vegas. We're respecting the cup here on Wednesday.
You're literally going to Vegas. You're going to be there. You're probably going to be the only one cheering on our guys.
Anybody else? Hey, let us know in the chat. Are you
let us know.
Vegas?
Can we get a caravan going?
Hey, I've made that drive several times, and honestly, once you get past the panhandle of Texas and about halfway through New Mexico, pretty great drive. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so like, how far is that into the drive? 6 hours?
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that at all. It's crazy. I can't believe they're going to Las Vegas, and obviously this Thunder team respected the cup last night. They played so hard. It did feel like a playoff game. You kind of got the vibe that the team felt like it was kind of a playoff atmosphere. The crowd was into it. The team was into it. Honestly, I think the person, obviously, I think Shea embodied this, but I also think like Cason Wallace embodied this really well, as well as Lou Dort. Like Cason was just everywhere. Like that was just, I sit in the corner of 108, and like just up close, the thing that just kept sticking out to me about this team was just like the effort and energy that Cason Wallace like continued to just hammer home. I thought he was incredible.
Yeah, I pointed out on Blue Sky, he had 4 offensive rebounds last night.
Yeah,
and they all felt big.
Yeah,
well, they all feel big when it's Cason because he's just not a very big guy. So when it happens, you're like, oh my gosh, there's Cason.
Right.
But he's had 3+ offensive rebounds in 4 of his last 7 games. So he's been on like a run right now.
Yeah,
of just grabbing boards, and it's been awesome because that was a part of his game that I just kind of figured, well, that he's probably never going to be a great rebounder for a guard just because he's so small. But I feel like he's really been developing there this season. I mean, he's just I had some concerns about him offensively this season sometimes when he would go to the rim, and it seemed like he was small. But on the boards, he's like played so much bigger. I mean, just the difference from last year to this year. Of course, let me go look at his. Here it is, Andrew. His total rebound percentage. So like, it's still not amazing. It's 7.2%. Last year it was 6.2%. That's still low.
Yeah.
But like, it feels like he is like a significantly better rebounder. And maybe it is because he's grabbing these offensive boards. And so those just feel bigger than if he was just, grabbing a random defensive board.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've noticed him around there more.
I'd asked him about it after the game too, just because I felt the same way. Like it just feels different. And I asked him about it. He just said it's just all about energy. And I think it's just him also. I think he's stronger than he was last year. I think he just knows the game a little bit better. But if this Thunder team is so stacked that like Cason is like going under the radar in a lot of ways, where we talked about this a ton. Like if he played for the Warriors or if he played for the Knicks or whoever, he would be getting a ton of shine. but because he's like so low on like the pecking order in OKC, he doesn't really, and somehow he's made it to the top of the pecking order here on Down to Dunk this morning. But
you like having him in this series plus Dort plus Caruso. Like it was good last year. Like, overall they played pretty well in that 6-game series.
They did. They did.
Like it's not like I feel like there's like a retcon about that series.
I know
that like Dallas like clearly was the superior team.
They literally had the exact same amount of points at the end.
I know. I thought they played well, but then last night you see the addition of Caruso, especially him coming off the bench. I was kind of a little wishy-washy about this idea that like why is he like the 8th guy off the bench? Through some parts of this early season. Yeah, man, you see it last night, and it was just like amplified that feeling of, oh my gosh, now we have to deal with this guy. Like there's another one of these guys that we got to deal with.
Totally.
I mean, this has to be the most difficult matchup for Luka. The only other team would be Boston, because they have a similar wave of defenders they can throw at him. But man, from going from like starters to the deep bench, because I mean, in the deepest the bench gets is usually the beginning of the second and fourth quarter, and they usually have Caruso out there, so there's like no escape. There's no place during the game where Luka can hide, and just go like have a nice little run and score some points. Yeah. Like every single time Luka is on the court, he's usually facing 2 defenders that are really good. So it just feels like they are so well set up, even more so than last year, which again, SGA outplayed Luka in that series. We all saw it. Outplayed him again last night. Yep. Last night was just really exciting because it just felt like they put everything together, specifically in that second half. Because the first half, it did feel a little bit like, oh my gosh, like Dallas just has our number. Like it feels like we are playing well. I know that we're not shooting the ball well, but it feels like we're playing well. Yeah. Why are we not up by more? Yeah. Like Dallas. Okay, I was telling my friend how much I hate the Mavs. I'm sorry. I'm just going on a rant now.
Go for it.
I was texting my friend to tell him how much I hate the Mavs. I was using a lot of explicit language and telling him that. And he was like, why? I have no feelings about the Mavs. They do nothing for me. And I was trying to think about it because it's honestly not about Luka. It's not even about Kyrie. Kyrie, by the way, had like an incredible finish in the early part of that game. I forget who it was over. Maybe it was Hartenstein, but just like a wild finish. But like it feels like we're dealing with both of those guys pretty well. It's the fact that they have all these role players that in my head are like 30% worse than they end up being in all of these games. Yeah. Like I never even was thinking about Omax Prosper in this matchup. And then he comes in and like hits a couple threes. Every one of those threes felt like a dagger.
Who was like hit like no threes. By the way.
I think he was 1 for if it was him, I think he was 1 for 7 coming in to that game on the season. I mean, so annoying. Now he's 3 for 9. Congrats.
It was
And I think that's what it is. They just have all these role players who, like Spencer Dinwiddie, he didn't even end up having a great night. But when he came into the game and got like a quick 5 points, I was like, oh my gosh, he's like the perfect guy to annoy me going forward. Like he can absolutely take the PJ Washington shine because he's the exact sort of player where I think they're not quite as good as they always end up being in these Thunder matchups. And so in the first half, I was starting to get pissed because I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening again. They're finding more of them. They're replicating who are like, I know who all these guys are, but like, why are they playing like this against the Thunder? But then the third quarter, similar to, I forget what the game was where it felt like this as well, where it was like, they should be up by more at half. And then the third quarter, it's like, oh, okay, this is the game. I think it was the Jazz game. Then the third quarter, it's like, oh, okay, this is the game. This should be based on how OKC is playing. Like this is what the score deserves to be based on how the team was playing. So it was listen, I love our guys no matter what, but I really appreciate them winning that game. I needed that one, Andrew. Things are bad, Andrew. Things are bad here, and I needed that win so bad.
I mean, the Thunder defense was ridiculous. I mean, Luka at half in 18 minutes and 51 seconds had more turnovers than points.
Yeah.
You know, he had 4 turnovers at half. He had 2 points at half. And a lot being defended by this Thunder team, and he just had no air at all. Like anytime he had the basketball, he's driving, he's on the perimeter. Whoever it was, it's a lot of Lou Dort. Casey Wallace blocked a jumper of his. There's just
oh my god, that was such an incredible sequence.
It was a great sequence. Yeah,
Kaysen blocks the 3-point shot. Luka gets it back though, and then he just plays incredible defense on Luka. Luka like drives him all the way to the basket, but he forces him into a really tough layup that he misses. It was like, oh my gosh, like Kaysen wouldn't even be top 2 on my list of guys I want guarding Luka, and our third guy can play like that
totally
against Luka.
Yeah, I almost want to call it up because it was one of those moments that just like sticks in your head. You know, I'll take notes on things, but then there's just things that just stick in your head after the game. And honestly, that was one of them. And, you know, you can talk about all you want about like how Casey Wallace isn't, you know, very big, but the thing that really sticks out about him is his wingspan. And one of the reasons why I think the Thunder wanted him too, like obviously he's a great basketball player, but for somebody at his size, like you need to have a pretty long wingspan in order to function in this league. And Kaysen showcases that a lot with the rebounding, with the shot blocking. It's pretty impressive. So yeah, I'm gonna call up this Luka block, and then he sticks with him. The rest of the play isn't on here, but he does stick with him, and Luka just has to kind of like fling something up, and it just goes off the backboard. But this was pretty impressive.
The former Piston and Nick, Luka making a move and was going for 3. Casey Wallace was there.
Just like the patience to stick with Luka like that and like not fall for any of his pump fakes, not like get up off the ground at all, and just like be right there to block his shot, I thought was outrageously impressive from him. Shea was on one. Have you seen this photo? I'm going to call this photo up too. So if you're listening on the pod, just a promo for you guys to tune in on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got a lot of people on this morning. If you guys could just hit the like button right this second, that would be super great. Shea was just kind of on one last night. You could just tell that he wanted to win this game, but then you could just some of like the stuff that he was doing, and this was on Getty Images this morning. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this photo, but I just haven't really seen Shea like this. There was like a particular joy about him that was going on, and then like he was just completely locked in this game. And I'm going to put this photo up. I just have not really seen this Shea. Have you seen this photo yet?
Yeah, I did see that photo.
So like Shea's like sticking his tongue out. I know this is like toward the Thunder bench. Like this isn't like toward the Mavericks or anything. He was doing that, and it's right after he hit a 3. Just funny. Like it's just funny. I think, and actually Jason Gallagher said this on Monday that he thinks that Shea is the MVP, through this point of the season. And I think that he is, to me, he's the obvious person for the MVP at this point in the season. With, the Thunder have dealt with a lot of injuries so far this season, and they're still number 1 in the Western Conference. He looked like the better player clearly against Luka in that matchup. And I think at this point in the season, I think you have to look at Shea as like the clear front runner for MVP as we get over the quarter mark of the season.
Yeah, and it was a reminder that this Mavs team does not have anyone built in a lab to guard SGA, whether they have Derek Jones Jr. or not. As a reminder, in that 6-game series against the Mavs, Shea was 32, 8, and 7 on 50, 55, 83 shooting. He was dominant.
It's pretty good.
Series, and he was dominant again tonight. Like the Mavs don't have anyone to guard him. I don't care about Najee Marshall. I don't care about Omax Prosper. All of a sudden, like they don't have anyone.
I love how much Omax got on your nerves,
dude. I don't know if he was part of this, but one of my favorite sequences in that game was there were 2 threes hit in a row by Mavs role players. I don't remember who. It was probably Omax and someone else. And Kenrich Williams immediately answered with a 3 both times. And because, like I told you, every time one of those role players hits a 3, I just I go insane. I get so mad. I'm getting angry. As I'm getting angry, within seconds, Kenrich just calms me down. Hits a 3. He was great, and he did 2 in a row, and it was like this cool 1 minute sequence where he matched them. And it was like, okay, we're fine.
Kenrich was so good and has been good, for a minute now. Really since he's been back, he's been like the old Kenrich. He started last year, made you think okay, what's going on with Kenrich? Everything okay? I know that he dealt with some injuries and stuff last year, and then, I mean, it makes, I was wondering why is he not playing in this Mavericks series last year? When Gordon Hayward was getting the benefit of the doubt over and over and over and over and over again. And it was clear last night that Kenrich should have been playing in that series. And I don't know if it was a health thing or not, but Kenrich was obviously crazy impactful last night.
Yeah, I was looking that up last night because, of course, in my memory, Gordon Hayward played 48 minutes a game in the playoffs. He actually only played 15 minutes in that Mavs series, which is also the same amount that Kenrich played. Yeah, he only played 15 minutes in the Mavs series.
Why did it feel like?
I know. I thought he was
I would have bet
5th or 6th.
I know. I don't know that I would bet that, but I would have bet he was the 9th guy on the team, which that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and Kenrich only played 15, so he played more last night, 17 minutes, than he played in that entire Mavs series last year. And he was awesome. And part of it, is hitting his threes. And I felt like, as I just mentioned, all of his threes were very timely, and so it made his impact even seem bigger than maybe it was in reality. But he was a plus 17 in that game, and it felt like that. Having him off the bench. Frankly, in comparison to J. Will last year during that series, because remember, they got killed in the J. Will minutes.
They did.
So good in the Chet minutes in that series. But they were getting killed in the J. Will minutes. You figure once Chet's healthy, well, now you have Chet, Hartenstein. You have potentially J. Will in the future. And now you have Kenrich. I just feel like Mark, for whatever reason, felt like he couldn't go away from that J. Will bench unit last year. Maybe Kenrich was hurt. I was tweeting about it, and John Hamm was like, "Yeah, I just keep telling myself he must have been injured. There must be
there has to be a logical reason why this didn't happen."
If that's the case, okay, maybe it makes a little bit more sense why he didn't feel comfortable playing in more minutes. But having him as an option, like you saw it last night, it's just huge because he's going to give up something in size. We all know that. But he adds another one of those guys that allow them to go 110% on defense for 48 minutes. It's almost like that. Who's the college team that was 48 minutes of hell? It feels like that when this team is playing. It was Arkansas. Shout out. It was 40 minutes of hell. Nolan Richardson. Shout out. It just feels like when this team is playing in a playoff scenario, they really can go nonstop, all 5 guys on the court for the entire 48 minutes. There's no let up. It's kind of crazy. As helpful as he was at times for their offense, it is crazy to think about the difference between Josh Giddey and whoever you think is the worst defender currently on the Thunder team. It is a chasm. It is such a big difference not having anyone that you can target. Isaiah Joe is probably your best bet, and I feel pretty good about Isaiah Joe most nights. He'll probably struggle with someone who has a lot of size, but they showed last night, they're willing to double. They were willing to double Luka. So I just have zero defensive concerns right now. It just feels like there are so many options up and down the roster.
I think that's absolutely true. Like we've talked about who's like the weakest link as a defender. Like there's not. I mean, you probably go to Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins as like the two guys that. But I don't think anybody thinks that they're bad defenders. They're just not. And it's funny because I think that you could almost, if the Thunder are the only team you're watching, you can trick yourself into thinking things like, oh, Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins are not good defenders. But no, they're just not like the top tier defenders in the NBA, which is almost everybody else on this team.
Yeah.
You know, like Shea is elite at like finding the gaps in like the offense for the other team and getting steals. You obviously have like the three guys that are insane on ball. You have Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet that are ridiculous. I think that J-Dub is ridiculous and doesn't really get his due as much as he should. AJ Mitchell is actually pretty good. Like he just plays really hard. It's a ridiculous team. And we talked about this on Slam and Jam. I actually talked about it last night on the NBA Daily as well, which you should go check out. But like this team, if you just look at the stats, if you look at the hustle stats, if you look at just steals, this is the most disruptive defensive team in the history of the NBA, according to the stats. And they have the personnel to show it. So it's wild. And we haven't even seen the full version of this team yet.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that's crazy to me is that they look, if this was the team, you'd be like, yeah, head and shoulders above the West. Like this is a great team. You know, they have their backup center coming back. Great. No, they have their second best player on the shelf right now. And when he comes back and you can stagger and it's great to have Hartenstein because you can really ease Chet back in and play him like 15 to 20 minutes a night to start with if you need to. Hopefully he has like 20 to 30-ish games, to get back into a groove before they get to the playoffs. But the fact that you can stagger those guys and you can play two different, styles on offense and then like keep like the same defensive intensity, the best is yet to come for this team, which is kind of wild to think about when you're talking about the number one team in the West.
Yeah, they're so good that just their presence re-aggravates Luka's injury. All of a sudden, people start talking about his right wrist injury. I was reading a couple game recaps, and they all mentioned his right wrist injury, which is so strange because he's played 4 games since returning and has scored 31, 10.5, 9.5, shooting 50, 43, 71 in those 4 games, including 37 points against the Memphis Grizzlies, a top 5 defense. So like, I think his wrist is fine in the same way that I think whatever people thought was wrong with him in the playoffs last year was fine because he went on to the NBA Finals. But for some reason, when he plays the Thunder, these injuries just get a little bit worse, and we have to mention them instead of just bringing up the fact that OKC is really good at defending him. Really good at defending him. They make him look so much more normal than he actually is.
Yeah, totally. And he still, played against that Thunder team. They were ridiculous. And he still, it's almost a credit to him that he found a way to get 16 points in the game because of how suffocating they were.
Yeah. Well, one thing that stood out is I forget how many it was, but of his turnovers, a couple of them were on like just these like classic Luka outlet passes.
Yeah.
Where, you catch the ball, throw it all the way down the court, and it got picked off each time. I think it was either like 2 or 3 times. Two or three of his turnovers were those. And I remember in that series last year, there was a conversation about like the length of Luka's passes, and how much that screws with the defense because he can just throw these like random overhead passes that go cross court, or he'll throw these really good outlet passes. And it just felt like OKC was better prepared for those passes, and they were sitting on them sometimes, just waiting for him to make those throws. That would really make a big difference because when he's able to make those types of passes, that's when Dallas is getting either like really good transition buckets, like really easy transition buckets, or wide open threes in the half court offense. So that was nice to see from OKC. But yeah, I wish people would just say OKC might be the best defense, the best antidote against Luka right now. We've seen it now. for 7 straight games.
Yeah.
Like, he was not Luka in that 6-game series last year. He said that Lou Dort was the best defender, and now we've added Alex Caruso. Like, I think we might have just built a really good team to face Luka.
Yeah.
That's how every conversation should start. I'm sick of hearing about his injuries. He's got these little injuries, Andrew. Oh, maybe it flared up a little bit during the game. I don't care. This not the reason.
No, I mean, you look at that series against the Thunder, he did have 31, 10, and 11 in game 5, but like the rest of his totals were like well below his season averages. But then he gets to the conference finals against the Timberwolves, 33 points, 32 points, 33 points, 28, 36. Like, was he okay then? Is everything okay then? You know, I mean, it's just funny that, like, yeah, why can't we all just admit that, like, the Thunder have the right personnel to deal with him and the right scheming to deal with him? Because, like, that's definitely the case. And it's not like the Timberwolves have bad defenders,
right?
You know?
Yeah,
They're really good defenders. They're just not Lou Dort. They're just not.
Alex Caruso, the burst he gave this team when he came off the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, it was best exemplified by that incredible play. That was at the end of the half, right?
Yes.
The Isaiah Joe 3.
Yes.
Yeah, where I forget who took the shot, but it missed, and Caruso dives on the ground to tip the ball just anywhere. Just tips it out beyond the 3-point line. Isaiah Joe's right there, and he hits that crazy 3 to end the half. And it sounded like the building went crazy. I'm sure at home we were probably watching a split screen of Jason Kidd mumbling something. Did you hear about this?
No.
So on the feed, they did this for the Bucks game too. They had Doc Rivers mic'd up.
Oh no.
On the feed for the Thunder game, they had Jason Kidd mic'd up.
No.
And randomly, and by the way, didn't say anything, didn't take anything away from it. Truly did not learn a thing.
He's tough to get anything out in like a press conference setting, let alone like a mic'd up setting where he knows he's mic'd up. Like, yeah,
but
right.
like any coach, what are they going to say?
Nothing.
Like, honestly, the best moment from a coach last night was seeing Mark clearly mouth "mother effer" in the direction towards one of the refs at some point in that game. But Andrew, there was a point in the game where they did this multiple times. They go split screen. Okay,
Yeah.
They shrunk the game feed so that we could get a side-by-side of Jason Kidd. And all we saw, and it was like for a solid minute, it was a full Dallas possession and a full OKC possession. All we saw was him go, damn, when J-Dub hit a shot. And then he was basically silent the rest of the time. We're just looking at his face. I cannot see the game as well because they've shrunk the game feed. It was so dumb. And I know they're going to do it in these games tonight too.
That is so funny. Yeah,
what are they going to say? Honestly, after seeing it, it's like, I feel like they're just yelling in the same way that like fans yell. There's no way the players can tell what these guys are saying. Like, I was listening to Doc Rivers, and he just has like such a hoarse voice.
Yeah.
But like he's just yelling like short little things. I like nothing. It's not like he's revealing some amazing insight in what it's like to be a coach live in game.
The stuff you want to hear is the stuff they wouldn't put on TV too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, occasionally you'll get something good in those like huddle segments, but I feel like these last
two,
usually not, but I feel like we learned in these 2 games last night that you're not getting anything from coaches on the sideline during game.
True. That is weird. That's a weird choice.
It was annoying.
Yeah.
And we know why they couldn't mic up Mark, He's too dangerous for TV, Andrew.
He's just
too dangerous.
He's a dangerous man. I do miss sitting for many reasons. I miss sitting at the scorer's table. But one of them is just hearing Mark just absolutely lose it against the officials. And he always calls them by their first names too.
Yeah.
Like he'll get their attention by yelling their first name at them, and then he'll just let them have it. And it's just beautiful. I think everybody deserves to hear everything that Mark has to say to the officials at some point in their life. Here's the Alex Caruso play in case you were just watching Jason Kidd during it.
As you call, Williams will fire from 17. Caruso keeps it alive. Shot good at the goal.
Oh, my goodness.
Isaiah Joe.
Yeah, that was the end of the third. And so why that was so special is because, the game was very close at halftime.
Yeah.
They come out in the third and like everything's clicking and everything's good. But I know in the back of my head, they're going to make a run at the beginning of the fourth quarter because we saw it in the second quarter with that J-Dub, no Shea lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Like just something wasn't clicking. And I don't know what to say about those lineups because you look at the advanced stats and like they're great. Like when J-Dub's on the court without Shea, they're like a +10 or something on PBP stats. Like they've been good. And you look at the personnel in those lineups and it's like, okay, I get that there's like maybe not as much offensive firepower as you could potentially have, but still like a lineup with J-Dub, Hartenstein, Caruso. Who else do they usually put in those lineups? Maybe Wiggins.
I mean, Wiggs. I mean, Kenrich. I mean, the thing is that they're just cycling so many guys in and out.
Like, it's not like there's some weak link. Shout out to Oos, but it's not like they're playing Oos.
Yeah, I mean, like Dylan Jones would be the one that people would point to, but like he just doesn't play enough for it to matter.
Right. And so it looks like it should work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if it's just maybe in like high leverage games where I feel like that lineup has been a little shaky, but it was shaky last night. And you kind of knew going into the fourth quarter, like, man, we really need fourth quarter dub here because I have a feeling Dallas is going to make a run. So getting that extra cushion from that Joe 3, which I think it made it like a 17-point game going into the fourth.
Yeah,
that was just so huge because it really did feel out of reach, even knowing that Dallas was probably going to make a run, which they did. I think they got it down to 9, right? It started to get a little bit.
Got it down to 8.
Down to 8, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is pointed out in the chat. Taylor Venus in the chat. Good call on that. They gave Alex Caruso an assist on that play.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
What a good Alex Caruso assist.
That is I would say the Alex Caruso assist, except for there was one other one, and this one got the crowd absolutely just on fire. Was the lob slam.
Yeah.
Guard to guard lob slam. Like this team couldn't throw a lob to save their life last year. And they had one of like the best like young passers in the NBA. And like he couldn't throw a lob. Nobody could throw a lob. No one could complete a lob to Chet. And somehow they acquire some guys that know how to throw lobs and the other guys start to catch on a little bit. But the Alex Caruso to Casey Wallace lob was fantastic, and here's that.
Marshall will make a move. Poked away by Gilgeous-Alexander. Caruso! Wallace!
It was awesome because it wasn't super obvious. It wasn't like they were just like out there alone that's what you should do. But obviously Jason probably like gave him like the eyes or whatever, for him to go up. But just like such a fun play. And
now I'm remembering, I actually remember another Caruso assist that I thought was funny in the moment, which is where the Thunder had made a shot or missed a shot. I don't remember, but Dallas had gotten possession. Everyone was moving down the court. Caruso gets the steal in the backcourt, passes it to Kenrich. Kenrich passes it to Caruso. Caruso passes it back to Kenrich, and then Kenrich takes the 3. Oh, that was his third 3. Yeah. So I just thought it was funny because it was just like, what is this? What is this Caruso Kenrich 2-man game? They're playing like hot potato. It looks like, but maybe they're getting a better shot. But also, will one of them please just shoot it?
It was so funny. It was honest. It was honestly such a funny play, and it was like the right thing to do. But at the time, it just looked a little bit comical, I guess. I actually have that play drawn up too. Here it is.
Rebound by Dinwiddie. It's picked up by Caruso. Kenrich Williams 3.
A little hot potato right there.
And again, another turnover.
It reminded me of Do you remember the promotional shots for Dunked On with Nate and Danny?
Oh my god!
Passing the basketball back and forth from each other. Like they weren't even looking at the rim. Kenrich and Caruso. They're just passing to each other, just back and forth,
just back and forth, back. And
yeah,
forth.
That was a fun play.
It's so funny. It's so funny, and it really like and you have all these cliche things that you can say about the Thunder that I'm sure some people roll their eyes at. I'm sure that Mavs fans roll their eyes at it. But like there is like this unselfishness about this team, you know, that is like kind of permeating like from the top down. And like that play really shows it. You know, like Kenrich and Caruso, like neither one of them cared who shot it.
Yeah.
Like, all they wanted was the open shot. Like neither one of them cared who shot it, who made it, who cares as long as we get the points. And, you know, the fact that Kenrich has found, you know, his three ball again, and that's a huge factor. I think the whole Kenrich Williams thing is probably one of the most underrated things that's happening with this team right now. And a lot of it is, like we talked about with even Kaysen, is just that, yeah, like there's a lot going on with this team. There's a lot of good players on this team. But Kenrich, he's played 14 games so far this season. He's very quietly shooting 42% from three so far.
Yeah.
And like that's a big deal. Also, 100% from the free throw line for a 53% free throw shooter is unsustainable, I would say. But he's just shot it really well.
Yeah, and we have seen the return of the Kenrich at small ball 5 lineups. Where we've seen over the years. So I'm just going through Cleaning Glass. Last 3 years, Kenrich at the 5. 2 years ago, played 23% of his minutes there. They were plus 16 in those minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, he played 42% of his minutes there. They were a plus 9.9. This year, 92% of his minutes at the 5, and they're a plus 9 so far. Obviously, he hasn't played a ton of minutes, but that has been a consistent pattern over these last couple seasons. When you play Kenrich as a small ball 5, things work out. It is a nice weapon to have. Some would argue they had that weapon in last year's playoffs and did not use it. But regardless, they definitely have the weapon now. And I do like the idea. I know we were saying this last year. We were like, well, maybe they're just keeping him fresh for the playoffs. Because remember, they weren't playing him as much as we thought he should be playing during the regular season.
Right.
So it's not like we need him to play a ton of minutes, but I just like seeing him out there. I like being able to go to Kenrich, because when Kenrich has one of his good games, it just makes a massive difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's just, I mean, they have those kind of players up and down the roster, just impactful players that play really hard. And he's been a leader in the locker room for years now. And I think that it helps when the leader of the locker room actually gets on the court and is playing. And I think it's just good to see. It's not like Kenrich is like some old guy or something. I think that in some ways we think of him that way. He's only 30 years old. You know, he just turned 30 on December 2nd. So, yeah, I mean, it's certainly a luxury to have him, and a necessity right now without another backup big in place. And you just wonder, like, you just want him to keep playing, I guess. And you wonder full strength, who plays, who doesn't, you know, with this team.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's matchup dependent, but just the way that Kenrich has played recently, you want him on the floor.
Yeah. And listen, there were still moments where you saw the size of Dallas last night, whether it was Lively or Gafford, where, you know, maybe they got matched up on one of the small guys and it was just like not really a fair fight. But overall, I don't remember a ton of Luka lobs.
Yeah.
Which is good. In fact, I remember one specifically, the Thunder broke up, which was really impressive, which was a really impressive play. It just did not feel as big as they sometimes felt in that 6-game series. And part of that is Hartenstein. Part of that is I just think that the defense tonight was even more swarmy, like more active than we even saw in that 6-game series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I need to take a deeper dive into this. But Lively, in the Mavs games that I've watched, he has not like taken the leap that a lot of people I think assumed that he would make. You know?
I just don't know what people like. What would be that next version of him? I mean, he came in so fully formed as like that Tyson Chandler type center, and I think he's perfect in that role. But I don't totally know what would be the next step for him.
Yeah, I think I agree.
And it's because, like last year, Gafford was starting and he was coming off the bench, and they're obviously committed to him. He's starting now. He played 31 minutes last night, but yeah, I don't know what people are expecting as like the next step for.
Yeah, I guess just like more of everything, because he's playing literally the exact same amount of minutes on average that he did last year this year. 23 and a half minutes per game. And so I think that my assumption heading into year 2 that, okay, like he is quite obviously better than Daniel Gafford.
Who, by the way, remember when I said in the preview of the show, oh, he'll probably go 4-4. He literally went 4-4 in the game.
Yeah, I just think there would just be more. That's all. He's averaging literally 8.8 points per game and 8.8 points per game, from last year this year. He's up a little bit in rebounds. He's actually, his passing, like his assist numbers are up quite a bit this year, but he's shooting a lot worse from the field than he did last year. 74.7% last year, 67.6% this year so far. I just, and on, like, we all know that like progress isn't just going to tick up and up and up for all players. And so I'm sure that even if he seems to have regressed a little bit now, I don't think that that's going to hold for his career. I'm sure that he will find ways. And also, like, team staffs and the coaches and the players and everybody just know him better this year.
Yeah.
And they're not going to fall for, all the stuff that, guys can get away with in their rookie deals. So I think that's probably part of the puzzle too, is just that, hey, like, yeah, it's his second year. Like, you got to go prove it. And he's still been good. I don't want to say that he's not good, but I just think that, he hasn't made like the leap, because people were starting to put him in like the Chet Wemby conversation, I guess, is why I bring that up. In that, like, there's 3 guys, in the same region. It's not just 2. And it's like, well, it really is just 2. And like, the other guy's really good, but I don't think that he belongs in the Chet Wemby conversation.
Yeah, I think people are adding in the incredible value of getting like a starting level center at that point in the draft.
Yeah.
And so it makes him feel it makes it feel he's even better than he might be in real life, just because getting a player like that in the draft for a team like Dallas, who at that point was kind of like asset strapped, like you were wondering how are they going to add like meaningful pieces to the team, and he was such like the perfect player at the perfect time. And so his value to Dallas is probably always going to be higher than it might be for any other team, because he is so perfect for Luka.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like watching it last night, it did not feel like he was dominating the Thunder. Like he had a decent line, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, but yeah, it wasn't as scary as it seemed at points during that 6-game series last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And part of that was he wasn't starting, so he got to play a lot of his minutes against non-Chet lineups.
True.
Which does matter.
Which is smart, honestly. Like, it was a really good chess move.
Yeah.
To do that. And it took a lot of, I think, humility for that to occur in that way. Because a lot of guys, if they're coming off the bench, there's guys that'll pout across the league if they're not the guy. I think we've seen that with Jonathan Kuminga, honestly, with the Warriors. Like, it's been a very up and down season, and he's really thrived when he gets the spotlight, and when he doesn't, it doesn't always go that well. And so, like, there are a lot of guys that behave that way. And so it is a credit to him that he was able to accept that. And it was a great coaching move.
It's just funny though, because like you could think to yourself, okay, like maybe in the next matchup, they could kind of do that more, where you get Lively on the floor when Hartenstein's off the floor to maybe just help Luka out a little bit. So you could get some of that lob game going. But man, looking forward and knowing that like you have Chet and Hartenstein, there's no down period. I mentioned there's no down period for Luka. There's not going to be any down period for those centers either going forward.
Totally. Yeah. Man.
Pretty good, Andrew. Feeling pretty good.
I mean, this, I was talking to somebody last night, and I don't even know if I want to mention this, but I don't know if it feels this way to you, but is it hard for you to imagine the Thunder like actually winning the championship? Is it like hard to imagine it like really happening? Like we are
that's why I think
day that it actually happens.
That's why I think this NBA Cup is really fun, because honestly, there's a part of me that's like, it's crazy to think about them winning the NBA Cup, which I know is not like
we're like our brains have been broken by this like KD Russ era. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like the idea of seeing this team post game holding up a trophy, whatever the trophy is, and seeing them all happy, like I'm still like, man, that would be awesome. I just can't really imagine it.
It'd be amazing. And a lot of it, I think a lot of it for me is just like experiencing that KD Russ era and like such a like vivid way, like we did, podcasting about it all the time. It just feels like, well, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever know what that feels like.
And that's why this NBA Cup, like, it's really nice, especially if, well, I mean, regardless of what team they would have to play next, but especially if it was the Warriors, because like I love that idea of the ghosts of Christmas past.
Oh, I know.
You got to go through them. I wish there was a team on the East that I felt that way about. There's really not. But
the Knicks would be fun.
It would be fun. There's no like history there. I don't really feel anything about the Knicks.
Trae Young and the Hawks?
Nothing. I'm trying to feel something. Nothing. I mean, maybe Dame. Okay, he's kind of a ghost of Christmas past.
There we go.
Something.
There it is. Dame time.
Kind of forcing it compared to the Warriors and the Mavs, but
we're definitely forcing it. Yeah, Warriors and Mavs, and even the Rockets. Like we said, like it's all of the rivals for the Thunder in this thing. Okay, who would you rather play? So tonight it's Warriors Rockets. The Rockets haven't. It's been 15 consecutive games that the Warriors have beaten the Rockets. The Rockets just
really,
yes, 15 consecutive games. Wow. I was talking to Anthony Slater about it last night at the arena. This is also something that's great about the Thunder being good is that like everybody's in town, for these games. Slater comes in town for the game.
Oh yeah.
Christian Clark, who just got the job covering the Mavs for the Athletic, was in town. Got to talk to Christian. That was great. Ban McMahon's in town. Get to see him. Like it's just great. Like the stars come out these days in OKC when there's big games. So that's a lot of fun. But who would you rather see against the Thunder?
I think so. At this point, like I'm more open to watching a good game. Like last night, I was like, "Please give me a blowout. I don't want to deal with this.
I can't handle this emotionally.
Just get me to Vegas, okay?" But now I'm thinking about what would be the best game. I would rather watch the Warriors.
Yeah.
Because I feels like every other game they play is a classic. Like every time the Warriors and Thunder play, it's really good. Like going back to that regular season Steph game with the shot at the end, but even like last year, the game where Chet hits the three to go to overtime, like or even the NBA Cup game last year where Draymond gets the layup at the end, like all of their games are so entertaining.
I maintain as a goaltend
and
offensive basket interference, whatever you want to call it.
Unlike the Rockets, I feel like those games can turn into rock fights. I feel like the Warriors games just end up being more aesthetically pleasing to watch.
Totally.
So I think I'd rather see the Warriors. I think they're both obviously beatable, but they also both can beat the Thunder. When you think about this is the bad way to think, Andrew. Okay, and I'm not saying I'm thinking this way, but when I think about who would I rather lose to, it's definitely the Warriors.
Oh,
if the Rockets beat the Thunder in Vegas
in the Cup,
after we've respected the Cup for months now, that would be really, really rough,
dude. That would be brutal.
I mentioned how the NBA Cup kind of feels like prepping me for a playoff run. That would be like prepping me for like a playoff like abomination, like just like the worst feeling you can have as a sports fan.
Yeah, I do not want that.
Which is funny because it's like the Warriors are kind of that too.
Yeah, but we've been so little brothered by them for years now that it's just like, okay, we know.
Yeah, I know. Like the Rockets does feel like, okay, we're finally okay. If this is a rivalry, I feel like we're in the big brother position right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
Yes.
there's
Exactly.
more risk.
That's exactly right. And I'm sure that the Warriors feel a little bit that way with the Thunder, where it's like, yeah, you've been little brother for so many years.
Yeah.
Like it just hurts more to be bullied by you, you know?
But I just feel like I feel better about that matchup. Like knowing you have all these guys who you can throw at Steph.
Yeah.
Knowing that for the first time ever, you're going to have a size advantage against a team.
Yeah.
And like,
it's true.
Klay Thompson isn't there anymore, who actually led the Mavs in scoring last night. Did not feel that way watching the game.
10 from 3. There were a couple moments that whenever they were making their comeback, when they got it down to 8, where Klay was like, Kyrie hit those 2 corner threes. One was at the buzzer, and I turned to Joel Lorenzi, who was sitting next to at the Oklahoma, and I was like, if they come back, like that will be the 3 that I talk about first.
Yeah.
It was just such a just hope and a prayer. It felt a little bit like, and it wasn't obviously like the same like time and score, but it felt like the Van Vliet one where it was just like you just throw the ball up, and that's probably a 10% shot, you know.
Yeah.
And you know that one went in. Yeah, Klay was good. There were definitely points where I was just like, oh my gosh, it's going to be Klay again. Like Clay's another one of the annoying guys on that team who people say is washed, but like somehow he goes 5 of 10 from 3.
Yeah.
Like he just is added to this list of just guys, you know, somehow they throw Markieff Morris in there and Markieff would be like spinning on the block on us, you know? I mean,
yeah, if they do meet in the playoffs, like I'm already setting aside a game for Klay. Like I'm mentally.
Sure.
I know he's going to have a game where he hits like 8 threes.
Yeah.
And I will turn off the game midway through the third quarter and go walk a dog I don't have. By the way, Andrew, I might be getting a new dog. I didn't mention this on the pod, but former dog Hank passed away in March of last year. I never mentioned it. It was very sad. R.I.P. Hank. But our friends are going away for 6 months, and they offered well, they're going to pay us to dog sit, but it's a nice way to dip my toes back in the water.
Kind of dog.
A little white thing, a little nice little white dog, a little puff thing. I don't know what kind of dog it is.
Nice,
but it's an old man. So
okay,
I'm excited. You might see me in future pods. Hopefully he likes me. Petting a little doggy here.
Nice.
So I'll be able to take my dog for walks when we have suffer a terrible loss.
There you go.
Yeah,
it is good to go for a walk. Get some air. Don't talk to your family for at least 15 minutes after the loss.
Oh, you have to get off of social media after a bad loss.
Have to get off social media. Have to not talk to your family. Just go walk the dog.
Whereas, like when they win, I'm like going to the Mavs subreddit. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm not coming to bed. No, go away.
I have to read the Mavs subreddit
also
for
don't
45
talk to your
minutes.
family 15 minutes after a win as well.
Yeah, that's true. I would extend it to maybe 2 hours. I need time to like fully explore the internet, see what everyone's saying about my favorite team, make sure I look at all the different the loving things people are saying about the team.
Matt Noonan in the chat does point out also Taylor Venus as well that if it was the Knicks, it would be the iHeart game.
Yeah, because we have not played them yet, right? No. I forget when the reunion is, when the revenge game is going to be.
I also forget when it is, but
that would be a really fun matchup. Just with the way they're playing right now, having someone like OG who potentially would be a really good defender against Shea.
He would really test Shea. It would be a very good test.
Honestly. At the same time, like thinking about Jalen Brunson having to deal with those same 3 defenders that Luka had to deal with.
Yeah.
Man, that would be really tough for him. That would just be a fun matchup.
Yeah. This is interesting, and like something that the NBA needs to take notice of. And this is the same. This is not just the Thunder. This would happen, I think, with the Warriors as well. That whoever makes the final, like the schedule is going to be ridiculous for the Thunder if they make the final. So they would play Tuesday night in Las Vegas. And then they clearly, probably win or lose, probably would go out in Vegas that night. And then they would travel the next day to Orlando. They have a back-to-back on the road.
Oh my gosh.
Orlando, Miami, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, so they get 1 day off.
They get 1 day
And then
off,
have a
but you're
back-to-back.
traveling all the way across the country from Vegas to Orlando. And like I think, and let me go see if this was the case with the Lakers. And that's obviously like also it's the Lakers, whatever, who cares? But I just wonder if like the NBA really needs to take a look at this schedule and adjust it, because like why couldn't you have done the Cup on this Thursday and Saturday, and then like given the teams that are traveling and doing the extra games, because like they're playing the 83rd game if they're playing in the final.
Yeah.
And then you're putting like this stress on the team as well. Like I love the Cup. Obviously, it's partly a bit for me, and then it's partly like seriously, it's been really fun to follow both, not just the Thunder, but like the whole thing has been really fun. Like last night, like that Bucks Magic game had no business being fun. Like it just didn't, but it was. It was a very fun game to watch. Like I very much enjoy it, but there are like some logistical things about it that need to change, and this is one of them. Because like, would it surprise me if they like completely laid an egg on that back-to-back after like exerting all this effort and energy, and like you get to the finals and then like there's probably like this letdown that could happen because there's so much anticipation, and Jay Will is pushing these guys so hard every day, get the money. And so I just wonder if like there's going to be like this a letdown, I guess is just the best way to say it. If like they lost both those games back to back against Orlando and Miami, like I would not be shocked at all, just because it is really tough. You just wish that there would be some way, and you can't predict it, but you just wish that there was like a little bit more time off in between. Like
here's what you do. The Orlando game is a TNT game.
Yeah.
So you rest all of your stars.
Yeah, for real. I mean, honestly, I totally
in protest.
I would rest. Yes. Yeah, they should. That's a great point. They should rest all their stars. They should just
punt it.
Play Dylan Jones 48 minutes in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that is a really good point. Like if you're the Thunder and you want change to happen, rest your starters. Larry Miller, poor Larry Miller in the chat's like, no, don't do that. Hit the game. Sorry.
But of course, hey, Andrew, they gotta make it to the final first. Okay, we can't get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, no, I mean, if they lose on Saturday, then they'll have.
It's not a big deal anymore.
Then they'll have time off, and like they'll have ample time off, and that's. I mean, let me look at the Warriors schedule, because the Warriors, I think, have like a big road trip. Slater mentioned that to me last night, that like if they made it to the final, which would mean that they beat OKC, that like their schedule like is wild. So yeah, they head on a 3-game road trip. So, or I guess no, 2-game road trip. So they're in
Memphis. And
that Thursday, Memphis, and then Minnesota. So, yeah, I mean it's bad for everybody, honestly, for the teams that make the final. So,
well, I guess I just didn't remember this from last year, but on these off nights, like on Monday when there was just like a couple random games.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was actually just the Knicks Raptors.
It's just Knicks Raptors. Yeah, it was just one game. Yeah.
And also the Raptors are playing again on Thursday for some reason. They're like the one team that like didn't actually get a break from all this.
Oh, that's funny. And Scotty's out now.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, apparently that's not like a serious injury, but I don't know if you saw the clip of him saying like, I can't feel my foot.
Yeah, I did see that. That is, that's not ideal.
It seems bad. Seems bad. Yeah, for some reason they played on Monday and then they're playing on Thursday against Miami. They're like the only team that did not get a break.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't understand why there can't be more games like on that Monday or on Thursday. Like it's not distracting me from the Cup to have some normal NBA games on. You know, I feel like I'm setting aside the right amount of mental space for the NBA Cup games. I could still watch some other games, not just one Raptors Knicks game. Whatever. Maybe I'm being greedy, Andrew.
Listen, it happens to the best of us.
It is nice for teams to get this break.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're
at a good
the
part of the
Mavericks,
season,
like you're bummed that you lost the game, but also you're like, man, this break is going to be really nice.
yeah, they don't play until next Thursday, and actually, they don't leave Dallas until December 27th. That's pretty nice. Shout out.
Yeah, that is nice. Yeah. So the Lakers played the New Orleans Pelicans in that semifinal. They beat them 133-89. I remember that game was clearly not a fun one. But the Lakers had like a pretty bad cup hangover after that victory. Because then like let's see, they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they lost 7 of 10 out of 10 games after that.
Oh, wow.
Actually, they lost 10 of 13 after the cup. And some of that is to that like clearly this is like an older team and a team that was not built, to be like one of the better teams in the NBA. Like
they were built for the cup, Andrew.
They were built for that one. Well, not even the cup. They were built for the in-season tournament.
I know that is lame to think back that was called the in-season tournament.
It is lame. Do you would you want the Thunder to hang a banner if they want it?
Oh yeah. I'm in like Premier League brain now, but like they have the equivalents, the FA Cup, League Cup, and like it's a big deal when you win one of those. Especially if you like never won it before. Like for some of the smaller clubs, like just making a run in the FA Cup is like a big thing to remember.
Yeah.
So I absolutely think they should hang a banner.
Yeah.
Didn't they've hung banners for like Western Conference
West Finals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or West Conference. Yeah.
The NBA Cup is way bigger than that, Andrew. Okay. Now I do like the idea of doing it a different shape.
Oh,
I think that's what the Lakers did. It doesn't look like their title banners. It's a different shape banner. I do like distinguishing it in some way, but yeah, like first of all, the best thing to ever happen to the cup was the Lakers winning the first year because it historically is going to add added significance to it just because the Lakers won it. If that had been like literally any team, the Hornets had won the first NBA Cup. Like I think it would just be harder for people to take it seriously.
Well, it also allowed the NBA to sell probably the cup to a
that's true.
Degree.
But I think the Lakers winning it kind of cemented it as like, okay, this is going to be a real thing going forward because there's enough Lakers fans who will always care about them winning that. So yeah, absolutely. Hang the banner. Hang the banner.
Last thing, I did talk to Lou Dort last night about mallet.
About mallet finger?
Yeah.
What'd he say?
First thing he said to me was, "Oh yeah, you're the one who hurt it gardening."
Man, they won't forget that detail.
It is something I will never live down. And I mean, he's got it in a splint and he has it wrapped. He said that there's like a couple different tapes that he's been trying and he's finally found one that he likes. And so he's got this little splint on his pinky and he has his ring finger taped to it during the game.
Yeah.
And he said like just kind of the same thing that I went through. Like you have to keep it straight all the time. And like, even if you'll change, like I changed my brace probably every day, but you have to like hold it in place to keep it straight so that those ligaments can still heal. So yeah, it was just really funny. He said that he heard it against the Mavs the last time they played. Was when he heard it. Of
course he did.
He needed another reason to not like the Mavericks.
Yeah.
There you go.
These are evil people.
These are bad people. Oh man. Anything else piquing your interest? Hey, Slam and Jam on Saturday. If you're not listening to Slam and Jam, you should. It's on. If you'll search the Athletic NBA Daily on every Saturday, Alex and I do a show there, and it's a lot of fun. We'll be talking about the Denver Nuggets on Saturday, so that should be pretty fun.
Who lost to the Wizards? We'll be talking about
Wizards?
that game exclusively.
We'll act like that's the only game that's happened this season to them. So be sure to tune into that. Be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We'll be bringing you some exclusive Cup content from Las Vegas since the Thunder will be there, which will be amazing. If you want a game recaps too, you can go to the for Thunder After Dark. I had Rylan Stiles, Brandon Rabar, and Joe Masato on last night with me discussing this game. You can find that at patreon.com/OKC Dream Team. We might do a watch party on Saturday, so stay tuned for details about that. Still discussing details of potentially doing a Cup watch party. So stay tuned for details there. That would be in Oklahoma City, by the way. Okay, if you're going to be in Vegas, let me know. I'll bring some Down to Dunk stickers with me. Saw a lot of dunkers at the game last night. Love handing out stickers. Love meeting new dunkers all the time. But yeah, anything else, Al?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you guys again on Friday.